Slingin Dirt Media, I'm DJ Smallwood in the shop again with Jesse Lay, the last Outlaw. Kind of a special thing. Jesse, you're my first repeat episode, so congratulations.
Yeah, well, I've got to keep it going, you know what I mean? So you're pretty close since you work at the shop. Yeah.
It makes it convenient sometimes.
Absolutely.
So last time we talked about your career, you know, some of the where you've been and how you got started and all that good stuff. You've had a year and a half of racing since then. So catch us up. What's it been like since then?
It's been pretty busy. Obviously, still trying to get Austin kind of up to speed. He's trying to get his career moving. At the same time, racing limited myself. I probably raced maybe 10 or 12 times this year. I think he raced about 25. Sometimes I drive, and it helps with setup stuff of being able to tell what the cars are doing and help him a little bit with coaching him along. He's gotten a lot better from obviously only driving a couple years and not really having any experience, never raced any go-karts or anything like that. So it's been good to sometimes it's good for me to race at the same time, the same nights, as long as we don't have problems, because then it gets real busy working on one car.
So that's what I was going to ask. I mean, I know you're limited on help. You've got some guys, some great guys that's been with you for a while, but which is more beneficial, nights that you're both racing or nights that you could just go and watch him and focus on him?
Well, I'm fortunate I got a lot of help, and I've got good help that just is always there for me. Darren Gosling's been there for, 15, 20 years, even back in the Battle of Bluegrass times. He's been there. Yeah. Troy's been there since 2008, and he comes anytime we need him. And Mark has been in and out for 20-something years, and Tom comes full-time from the Philippines over and stays all summer and works at the shop and then helps out on the cars pretty much full-time. He does a lot of the setup stuff. Yeah. I mean, I just got on and on. My dad and me and Austin, and it's all of us pretty much full-time. Yeah. So I think between Troy, Tom, Mark, Dad, me, and Austin, and
you guys
Tom,
are
and then
getting her done.
We've got a good group, but at the same time, when you're trying to race two cars on the same night, sometimes
now you've got double the work.
Yeah, so you're splitting your guys, and you're trying to go back and forth who needs what, and tires, and it's double the load, double the workload. But back to, does it help? Does it not help? Some nights it seems like it helps because I feel like I got a pretty good feel for the car with being racing so many years that I can sometimes get us there a little quicker. Other night, but the part of that that's not good is sometimes we race against each other and I don't get to see him race, and a lot of times I can watch him race and see what his car's doing and then communicate with him and give him more individual one-on-one time. Yeah. And we're all focused on one car. So at times it helps both ways. It goes both ways.
So it just depends on the night, really.
Yeah, exactly. And then it never fails. Sometimes we're side by side in the heat or side by side in the feature, and we're racing against each other. So that's not good. You don't want to crash each other.
It's got to be fun, though.
Yeah, but you don't want to get into each other, crash each other, because
that's never the goal with anybody, is it?
No, exactly. So twice the damage for sure.
Yeah, double the wash.
That's the thing. Come Mondays, it's double the cleaning, double the tire work, double the washing of everything, double the body work, double the maintenance. So it makes for a longer week also.
That's also got to make double the expenses.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're burning up twice as much fuel, twice as much tires.
As if the sport wasn't expensive enough.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't, I mean, yeah, it's definitely expensive. I mean, if it's a good paying show and we can run good, it kind of works out. But if it's not a really good paying show and we burn a lot more money than we make sometimes.
So you guys both ran the World of Outlaw show at Brownstown. That worked out for you. You both were in the show that night.
Yeah, it worked out all right. We both got provisionals. We were just not very good that night. I folded the nose under qualifying, then you're starting on the tail of a heat. He qualified really, we thought, well for his not running over there all year, but it still put him towards the back of a heat. And when you start getting in the back of a heat of a Lucas or World of Outlaw race and you start looking up through the field and you're seeing like Bobby Pierce and just the other guys that are all good, Ricky Thornton or whoever you're behind, and you're like, okay, Davenport is like, all right, now who am I going to run past here to make the show? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it just don't happen. Those guys are so good. They race all the time. I mean, some of them are racing 100 times a year. Some of them come out of Florida after going to Mexico and Florida and Georgia and all that. They've ran 30 shows by the time they come up in February, by the time they come back. And Austin's raced 25 times all year.
All year.
I mean, so we don't have the budget, obviously, and the time to go to Florida and all that stuff. And it's hard to sometimes catch up throughout the year when in April and May we just lost so many races.
You're just automatically, you're behind.
Rainouts and everything else, and then next thing you know, you're trying to find a race here and there to get going. You just don't race as much as those guys. And
I've thought this for a while now, and whatever, just my opinion, it looks like, your regional guys and guys that get to go to Florida and do the speed weeks, whether they're hit and miss here and there or whatever, the guys at least get to go to Florida, get some races in. When they come back and regular season starts around here, man, they're already on the go pedal. I mean, they've already started their program, they got a feel for it. They've knocked off that winter dust, rust. They're on the go.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I mean, they're up to speed. They've knocked the rust off. They're ready. They're pretty much got their car kind of figured out, any bugs or anything.
Sure.
I mean, they're ready to go, but they're ready to rebuild their car sometime when they come back. Yeah, I mean, 'cause a lot of times it's like,
or take 2 cars.
Yeah, exactly, or rebuild 2 cars when they get back. But yeah, they're a step ahead. They're pushed forward a little bit. They've knocked the rust off and they've got things figured out, and they're already kind of ahead on talking to other drivers and chassis builders and knowing what's kind of getting the stuff early in the year. Sometimes
things
takes us a little while to figure
working out. Or new things that's come out and things that have changed since, hey, this is what's working now. Hey, maybe last year's stuff might work, but hey, this might work better.
Perfect example. Rocket went down there last year, and I know a couple guys, they went over there and spent a bunch of $1,500 for the whole right front new thing where they bolted the shock mount forward, and it took they had another mount that had to be welded on. They bolted it forward, had a different hole lower and control arm and all stuff. It was going to be the latest, greatest things. And by the time they came out of Florida, everybody had it back in the trailer. It was junk. I mean, but they already figured that out by the time they came out of Florida. And some guys up here that bought that might have started the season with. But
so you didn't lose much on your regular season here, but guys starting out if you're on a touring season,
you figured out it wasn't the way to go. You know what I mean? And that's value in itself. They thought they had something that was going to work, and you don't know unless you try it. And it might have worked for some people, but I know a lot of guys that never used it again. You know what I mean? It happens with every chassis builder. It's not just Rocket or whoever.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's experimenting. Everybody's experimenting with something to see what works and what doesn't.
Right. Whatever Ricky Thornton and Bobby Pierce has been experimenting with is pretty good.
It's working.
Yeah.
Me and Austin was looking at the points today. I mean, just the World of Outlaws, for instance. Your 4th through 9th in points is separated by 40 points.
Right.
I mean, that's going to make the end of their season really tight.
Yeah. You look at guys like Tim McCready, who's been so good for so many years that it looks like he's kind of struggled through Lucas, but then you look at the guys that's running in front of him. I mean, they're all on pretty much unlimited budgets and full-time crews. I mean, everybody's kind of at that level. They've raised their game, you know what I mean? And Tim can still drive the crap out of a car. You know what I mean? It's just, everything's got to be right.
Yeah.
You can't be off a little bit at that level. That's why we're not at that level. I mean, we're plumbers, and we do that for a living. I am. Austin just graduated from college for sports rehab and stuff like that. So, but he's plumbing right now until he finds out kind of what he wants to do. But yeah, we got to take care of business first, and then we also coach basketball, high school basketball in the wintertime, which just started up a couple days ago.
Season just started.
Just started up, had our second practice today. So we coach high school girls basketball. I'm JV coach. He's freshman coach, and we like doing that a lot, but it takes up a lot of our time.
Sure.
But as far as the racing, it's still kind of a hobby for us. We're not looking to get rich off of it. We want to win races if we can. We want to be as competitive as we can, but we're not looking to put food on the table. Yeah.
This isn't your main source of income.
Right.
This is still your hobby. It's still do it for fun, but it's got to also make sense.
It's a good source of outcome.
Outcome. Right. So both your guys' seasons done now.
No, we go over to Atomic on the 28th, which is next weekend, the week after the dirt track. We got our season finale over there. Austin's running second in points, so I think he'll end up second in points. Rod Conley, I believe, is third. Josh Rice has won probably 80% of the races, if not more.
That boy's on him.
Regionally, he's definitely a hot shoe. He's won a lot of them, so it's worked out good for him. So he's going to win the points. But we close out our season over there next weekend, weather provided. I mean, we'd like to go over there and get that done. We're just going to take Austin's car. We're not taking mine. Mine's pretty much done for the season. We're going to strip this down at the end of the season and kind of start rebuilding. So.
Right. Man, you talk about, it's expensive. Running 2 cars. Is there any ideas? What do you think? Is there anything we can do about some... What's your opinion on some cost?
Wow, there's a lot that goes.
There's
into
a lot.
This.
There's a lot.
Everybody thinks they all have the answers, but there's so many more questions than answers. I mean, everybody's
Ain't that the truth?
The motors cost too much. The cars cost too much. The tires cost. But I mean, those are not things that racers we're going to control, because just because we're saying they cost too much, the motor guy ain't going to start selling motors cheaper. I mean, the motor guys that's putting them together, I don't think make probably as much as people think they do anyway. It's the cost of the parts, and the parts is the raw materials and the availability. And same way, I mean, tires, we're locked into buying the Hoosier tires. They're going to be what they're going to be, just because people are squawking. They're not going to be like, oh, Hoosier's going to cut them in half because everybody's crying. It don't work that way. I mean, cars are expensive, but the materials to do it all is expensive. So everybody wants to, how are we going to lower the cost? You're probably not going to lower the cost a whole lot. I mean, it's just not
in this class.
Yeah. So, but I do think that if we want to keep people racing, keep late models alive, which it's on a pretty quick decline and has been for the last few years. It's gotten so expensive to race these that a lot of guys can't afford to race regular shows at tracks like Florence Speedway. They've only ran late models, Spring 50, the Midway Flow Race, the Ralph Latham, and the North South, and I think he's canceled pretty much every other thing that he had. He only had a couple others canceled because it's hard to pay late models locally. You're not going to pay $1,500 or $2,000 to win and get 20 cars. You end up with 7 or 8
Those
cars.
days are gone,
long
gone.
200 to start. Guys ain't going to bring these and unload for 200 to start, 2,000 to win very often. I mean, Moeller gets by with it on a Friday night sometimes because they draw some local guys that have some lower level cars that just want to go out and race a little bit, and there's not a whole lot of competition on Friday nights. But in order for, in my opinion, for everybody talks like, oh, the streaming companies are getting rich, and they are. They're making millions.
They're making a lot.
But, and they're like, they need to give more tracks more money to stream. But in the grand scheme of things, when I look at it, I'm like, Flow Racing does not need an Ironman race at Lake Cumberland to make their bills. I mean, they're not making a whole lot of money off of that, so they're not going to give Brandon Hargrove a lot of money to stream an Ironman race that is a regional race. I mean, they're focused on Lucas Oil, the MAV TV stuff. They're focused on the Crown Jewels, which they have most of them anyway. The Worlds, the Eldor or the Dreams, the dirt track that's coming up. I mean, that's where their main viewership is at. So I feel like for them, for everybody to say they're going to start giving a bunch of regional guys shows money to be able to stream it where the viewership's going to be low, I don't see that happening. I mean, same way with Dirt Vision, with World of Outlaws, they pretty much live off of that. And the Summer Nationals. I mean, that's where they make their money. They're not going to start spending money where they're not making it.
Right. And I think most of your crowd and most of the people that are streaming and turning on TV, I'm not saying there isn't people that there is a market. There is a market for people who, but I feel like for the most part, you turn on your TV Friday or Saturday night, you're catching a Lucas or you're catching a World of Outlaw race. You know, you're watching the big names. You know, there's not you're going to have your fans, your local fans, your regional fans, and families. Those people are going to be turning in trying to catch the local and regional stuff. But your big numbers is the top series.
It's very difficult because the big series, as much as they focus on that, the series themselves and the streaming and stuff, and they're throwing a bunch of money at it, that's great because those guys can make a bunch of bank, which is good. But I don't think that's sustainable long term because I feel like the regional stuff is dying off and the local stuff is dying off. And if they can't keep the regional stuff minimum going, I mean, I don't expect tracks to run them on a regular show every weekend because it's just probably not going to work. But the regional stuff, there needs to be a couple smaller regional series that are paying decent money to keep the regional guys alive, because that's the feeder system for the bigger. There's nobody that started playing football in the NFL. There's pee-wees and high school and college. I mean, there ain't too many people going to go out and just buy a super late model program, 4 or 5 cars in a big hauler and say, I'm going World of Outlaws and Lucas racing.
Not as expensive it is.
So you got to have a feeder system, and somehow you got to take care of that feeder system to be able to have those guys, like when your Tim McCready's retire and your McDowell's and those people like that, people that's running the series, once they decide they don't want to do it no more, who's going to fill their shoes? Who's going to step up and take that?
And there's pretty much not any, I mean, I'm not going to say there's not any, but man, there's almost no local late model racing.
Not much, not around here. I mean, you got to really hunt for it. We've been fortunate. We've lived off the Ironman the last couple of years because Chris Tilley's had enough shows for us to usually stay within 2 or 3 hours of the house, and that's what we try to do.
And that's a good little regional deal.
Yeah, I think your regional shows, if you could find tracks within a 3-4 hour radius that would run the 5,000 to wins and 1,000 to start, or 700 to start.
Sure.
Or it's some 10,000 every once in a while, 10,000 to win, 1,000 to start, and have a decent purse that's not Dolly Parton heavy on the top. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's like, yeah, and that's also tricky because the promoters sometimes they think the big number on the top, that's what brings the fans, but they don't necessarily bring the drivers.
Right.
And Dale McDowell won down there at the volunteer race down there. It was 100,000 to
Yeah.
win. I think in his interview, I think it was either him or Shane, and they were like, "This is great, winning 100 grand because we won it tonight." But he's like, "We usually look at 10th on back of what it pays because sometimes we're on that side of it." And he's like,
Sure.
"I don't know that these races need to pay 100 grand to win. Maybe they should pay 30 or 20 or 50 and put all that extra money back through the field where everybody can stay alive."
Bring in more cars that
and
way.
it's not just that way on the bigger shows, it's that way on the smaller shows too.
Yeah.
When we unload, if we're going to race for 400 to start and we got to pay a $100 entry fee and you're taking home $300 because you didn't race good enough, yeah, you'd like to race better and you want to get up there in the money, but there's only one winner every night.
There's only one
Usually
winner
first
every
and
night.
second place can come out there in the positive. The rest of us are going home in the negative, and that's
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just not. Michael Lefevers did a thing the other day on, he put something up on Facebook and he's like, "What would you guys rather win for 10,000 to win, 500 to start, 7,500 to win, 750 to start, or 5,000 to win, 1,000 to start?" And it blew up 200-300 posts, and several drivers, I mean, it was 90% of the drivers said 5,000 to win, 1,000 to start with a fat payback.
Sure.
That gets you where you're not losing as much every night, and,
Right.
and it just doesn't make
So it's essentially it's the same number on the purse total. It's just divided up. Yeah.
Spreading it out a little bit, because your regional guys, they're not, most of those shows, you're not racing for a living anyway. I mean, but you're trying not to just bleed out tons of money every night.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, just go win some races. But again, I got Austin
Yeah.
who's not there yet.
Yeah.
Me, I don't even race enough to be kind of up there. We just gotta, we'd like to get better, but there's only one or two people that's going to make money every night.
Right,
so,
right.
The guy in the Ultimate Series, he's done a pretty good job this year of doing the 10,000, 1,000 starts, and he don't run every weekend, and he don't run you all over the country. So
Yeah.
he's put together a pretty good thing. But I think that's tricky too, because we're asking the tracks and the promoters to pay more money, pay this, pay that. Well, they're already kind of short too. So I mean, it's where does the money come from? People's like,
Sure.
get it from the streaming, get it from that guy, get it from that guy, do this. So I told a guy the other day, I was like, if you had a regional series and you want to really get tracks signed up, and I've talked to a promoter about this before, about a series, about, hey, why don't you bring this series to your track? And it was like 7,500 to win, 750 to start, or 5,000 to win, 500 to start. And he's like, okay. He said, well, let me ask you this. He's like, what value does it get me to bring this series to my track for a regional race? He's like, because for 5,000 to win, 500 to start, I don't feel like they're going to bring any more cars than what I already get. He's like, and I don't need them to come in and run my show. I can run my own show. He's like, I don't need them to flag or announce or do anything or line up cars. I got people to do that. So what value? So as a series promoter, even a small promoter doing a regional deal, we got to be able to bring value to the track. You got to get with drivers early. You got to get them signed up and be like, I got Michael Chilton and Josh Rice and Austin Lay and Rod Conley and RJ Conley and all these local guys that they want to run this deal this year because it's 5,000 to win, 1,000 to start, and there'll be a few elevated of 10,000, 1,000 to start, stuff like that. So you got to be able to bring value, and you bring value by doing that. You can also bring value if you want to get revenue from the stream. I don't think it would be a huge expense to set up to be able to stream your regional. I think the Hunt the Front people do it.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine the overhead to be able to stream a race would be that much. If you would take the streaming, you may have your own streaming thing. Just use the Ironman, for example. Say Chris Tilling and go get the streaming stuff. Get you somebody set up with that. Go to the promoters and be like, we do stream races. We sell streams. This is what it costs for us to stream a night. Anything above and beyond that, we split 50-50, so you don't lose any revenue. You know what I mean?
Sure.
As a series person, you got to be able to bring an advertising package. So you got to be able to send stuff out to local shops around there, local people around there, and try to get them on the board to want to be a part of sponsoring that race that night. You know what I mean? Give away some free passes to some different companies. Get some people there. Get some interest. Get a car that's just a mocked up car and sit it up in town during that race day. Drop it off up in town with the sign by it, racing tonight. Blah, blah.
Yeah.
Maybe even get a two-seater to where you offer some two-seater rides. That seems to be
know,
getting bigger.
It seems like, there you go.
There's going to be some expensive.
Yeah.
I told a guy too, I said, get a local guy, just say Tim Short down there in Kentucky, get him to say, can you sponsor this race? We're going to do a frisbee toss, 500 to win before the races. Whoever makes the race, we're going to do a quick little driver introduction. They sign the back of the frisbee, they throw it in the stands. Whatever fan gets it, if his driver wins that night, he gets his picture with the winner and gets $100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the other 400, I mean, it goes towards your series stuff, your payment stuff. But you got to get creative. You can't just be like, I'm going to run around, I'm going to throw out a race, and you're going to pay all the money, and you're going to pay sanctioning fee, and you're going to pay entry fees for the drivers.
That doesn't sound so appealing that way.
For the promoter side of that, there's got to be more to it to get them on there. You know what I mean? So,
something enticing, something that, hey, he's going to make money, and it's a good idea to make him look good too.
Yeah, but you always got to see both sides. For us as drivers, we're like, well, what's it going to pay, and what's our chances of getting into some money, and how far do we got to travel, and how much fuel in the truck, and how many tires and fuel in the car, and blah, blah, blah. And for promoters, you got to see it from their side. What do I get out of this? How much value you bring to me? Are you going to put people in the stands? Are you going to promote the crap out of it for me? And it's more than just a couple of Facebook posts saying, hey, we're racing this week. I mean, you got to be able to have a farther reach. You got to be able to have a product good enough to where the tracks are dying to get signed up to get you there. You know what I mean?
How do you like the two-seater stuff?
I don't know. It seems like it's gotten pretty popular.
It seems like it's came back. I knew it was. I feel like it was a great idea. Maybe 10 years ago, you started seeing some of it, and then it kind of fizzled, and stuff. And then now all of a sudden it's back, and it seems like it's working.
Yeah, some of them sell like rides for $100 a piece for 5 laps, or $150 for 10 laps. I mean, that's more revenue that could come in, whether it's the track, whether it's the series. And that's the same car. If you made that investment, you could set the same car up in town or out by the entrance saying racing tonight. And you
could ride in this car tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they did at Atomic, they did the two-seater ride out there, and they auctioned it off. They did a fan giveaway, and then they auctioned another one off. So they did a couple of them. And I want to say somebody paid like $800 for 5 laps or whatever. I mean, it's a bit much, but hey, I mean, they really wanted that ride. Yeah,
exactly.
And depending on the driver, if you pick your driver or whoever it is, I mean, I think they did. Nick Hoffman did one night, and Chris Madden did another night. I mean, hey, that's an experience right there to say, hey, I got to take laps with a top series driver or driver of your choice.
The ones up there at Eldora, and Hudson did it. And those look like some pretty fun rides if you're sitting on that outside wall. I'm not going to lie. So they probably got their money's worth.
Yeah.
But back to the sustainability, I just feel like there's got to be something done on the regional level to where guys don't just lose so much money every weekend. You got to be able to keep your regional, even if you don't run like Florence, if they don't want to run late models every week. If they would run them once a month for $5,000 to win $1,000 to start, and Brownstown would get on board, and Atomic and Portsmouth and Lake Cumberland and Ponderosa and Circle City, and you could put together 7 or 8 tracks that could take turns once a month, enough to keep the guys that still got cars regionally alive. Because eventually, if you get to where like Florence did this year, and you're only going to run Lucas Oil races and flow races that the regionals can't even compete at. I mean, what's the sense in keeping cars at that point? Because you're us and the Gilpins and the Jared Baileys and the like the people that's all around here, Hensleys, Evans, everybody like that. Everybody's going to get like, well, there's no sense in us keeping a car and no tracks around here run us. And when they do, they want to play crap money.
You look at, like you just said, so you go from Circle City, Indianapolis, to Portsmouth. I mean, look at that span of how many tracks there is in that circle right there. I mean,
you could do a Friday night at Circle City. They run Friday night, and you could do Brownstown Saturday night. You could do a Moeller on Friday night and a Atomic or Portsmouth on Saturday. If Portsmouth and Atomic could team up, you could do one on Friday, one on Saturday. You're right there close. You could even have a track do a Friday and a Saturday, 5,000 each night or something. You know what I mean? So, and then you wouldn't even have to travel much.
There's plenty. There's tracks that things could be put together.
You got Richmond and Rockcastle down there. You got Lake Cumberland. You got Ponderosa. In our area, within a 2.5-hour radius, you got a lot of tracks.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of rumors. We know Dave Rudisell is no longer with Lawrenceburg. His lease is up. So Lawrenceburg is going to have a new promoter. Tons of rumors who that's going to be. Could we see maybe some late model races back at Lawrenceburg?
I think we probably will. I mean, I've talked to a few people, you know what I mean, and I think we'll see a few of them there. I don't think the first year would be a bunch of big change up, a bunch of big crazy stuff, because I mean, the easiest way for somebody to fail is jump into a situation and then try to go
reinvent the wheel.
Try to be at Eldora the very first year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The facility is great. The track's not so great.
Yeah.
The rumors I'm hearing, they're going to redo the track. Right now, it's shaped like a bar of soap upside down. You know what I mean? You go up off of turn 1 and down out of turn 2. And I've been over there for the World of Outlaws sprint cars on the holiday weekend, and they put on a heck of a show. But other than that, it just doesn't seem like the racing is as good as it needs to be. If they could get the track fixed with that facility, I mean, the Lucas, the World of Outlaws, and some other local series and stuff, you could put on some really good racing there. But it just doesn't race the late models very good, and I'm not sure about the modifieds, but it's hard on motors. It's hard on equipment. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, for sure.
They went from one extreme to the other. They went from a go-kart track to a super speedway. You know what I mean?
I always like the old track. The old track was fun. It was small. It was boring, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was a circle.
It was a circle. It was. Had character. Yeah.
But you need those small tracks. We like the small tracks better than we do the big tracks. I mean, the Brownstowns, the Lake Cumberlands, the Ponderosa, stuff like that. You don't have to have a 480 Vic Hill motor to be competitive. You know
Nothing wrong with a 480 Vic Hill motor.
No. But some of those big tracks, the bigger ones, the Eldoras and stuff like that. I mean, it's just so much motor, and if you anymore on these elevated shows, if you can't qualify up front, I mean, you're just
qualifying.
Who are you going to pass looking up through the crowd?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Qualifying means a lot. I mean, starting position just it means everything. You know, like you said, you know, when you're looking at the board and you see the names in front of you, it's like, all right, here we go. Yeah. It's an uphill climb.
Yeah, there was like 32 cars or so over there at Brownstown for the World of Outlaws race, and there wasn't one of them that really couldn't race. You know what I mean? It was like maybe one crate car, I think, was there.
I think, who was it? Me and somebody else was having the conversation the other day, and we were talking about like driving styles. And it's, you know, there's the laid back. I remember, I think maybe it was Bloomquist. You know, it was smoother is faster. Slow down, you'll go faster. I don't know that there's a whole lot of places that you can kind of go into and take that philosophy nowadays. It's like everybody's on the go now, and I'm not saying every track is a board banging, you know, up on the cushion, but I mean, you don't have a whole lot of time to be smooth and ride it and, you know, make good consistent laps because everybody's on the go.
Yeah, I mean, anymore, I mean, it used to be back when I first started and for several years. Where
the black slick tracks.
You'd go in, it was slick, you'd have to be patient, wait on it, be easy on the gas and drag up through there and try to really dig up off the turn. Now you just drive the shit out of them every lap. Don't matter if it's slick or not. You're on the right foot. You're just momentum, wheel spin. I mean, it's just
lap after lap.
It never does seem like it slows down. You know, I mean, it's just whether it's black, whether it's heavy, it's just on the gas.
It's
you know what
on the gas.
It's a whole different driving style, and people like the Pierces and Bobby and Ricky Thornton and them. I mean, even Brandon Shepard, those guys. I mean, they've kind of changed how the cars with the way they're set up and the way they drive and the way the rear steer and just the momentum through the turns. It used to be you didn't worry too much about momentum through the turns. You worried about dig off, but now it's the corner speed through the turns. So how fast you're entering when you're on the bars and how much speed you can keep up, then you don't have to have as much dig coming off because you're already 10, 15 mile an hour faster. You got a run coming off. You know what I mean?
We mentioned two names there, Josh Rice, we've mentioned Josh, and Bobby Pierce. Two kids that, man, can get up on the cushion and rock and roll.
Right.
But I've also seen both of those guys this year, I don't know, learning isn't maybe not the right word, but run the bottom and still win races.
Right.
I mean, these guys are not just I guess that's kind of how they're labeled as the top, the cushion banger, the rim riders.
Right.
I mean, these guys can get it done anywhere they need to.
Yeah. Bobby has really gotten a lot better this year. That's what's made him pretty much unbelievable. It's just he used to be married to the cushion like Josh. He's been married to the cushion a lot. Josh still moves off of it some, but Bobby's got where he can go anywhere, anytime. If you're in his way, he's coming by.
He's going around you one way or another.
And he's got that refuse to lose attitude. I was talking to Bob out there at the North South. He came in my trailer. Me and Bob's good friends. I drove Pierce cars for, gosh, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. good friend of mine. I knew his wife ever since she was in middle school. Her and my older brother dated like in 9th grade or something crazy. But anyway, he was talking and he's like, Bobby's just got that refuse to lose attitude.
Yeah.
And she's like, I mean, nothing but win is in his mind. And
Yeah.
it's nothing less. He's like, he said he must get it from his mom. Bob said, I was never that way. He said, hell, I can remember coming home from Lake Cumberland or something and running second in a 5,000 to win show, and me kind of being glad we made a little bit of money, and Angie chewing my ass out all the way home because we didn't win and you could have won that. And he's like, baby, he's like, we can buy diapers and food this week. He's like, so he's like, she was that way too.
Yeah.
She just was all win all the time. And when you put the equipment in there, and people undersell Bob a little bit too on how good of a setup guy is. Bob is so sharp on so many different aspects of the race car.
Yeah.
And him combined with Longhorn has just made a dangerous situation.
It's a combination. It's tough to beat.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, anywhere they go, they are tough to beat.
Yeah, he gets it.
I'm not saying Bobby is the next Bloomquist. Let's go ahead and say that. I'm not saying but man, he's definitely the guy who's getting the crowd reaction like Bloomquist. Bloomquist is the man that when you went to a racetrack and they said his name, you had the cheers, you had the boos, and you had people ready to fight over it.
Right.
Man, I'm starting to see a little bit of that when they say Bobby's name now.
Yep, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of people that like him, but there's some that don't like him.
Some that
too,
don't like him, yeah.
And some of that comes with winning a lot. Sometimes you start getting the boos. Davenport started getting some there for a while, some boos, because he was winning all the time. And
you win too much.
and then people don't like you because you're winning all the time.
Yeah,
They want you beating their drivers. So it's a circle that goes around. I wish I'd be on the booing side of winning all the time.
I would be okay with that.
Boos, yeah, those would be fine with me to get a few of those.
I'd be just fine with being the bad guy.
Yeah, pretty good to be that bad guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, it's been, for us, it's been a good year. We haven't raced as much as what we wanted to do. I mean, because obviously the amount of shows around here next year, we're trying to figure out what we want to do. I'm hoping a couple regional series can get put together. We like to kind of run the series stuff when we can, but next year we may have to pick and choose some because we're not going to drive past a 5,000 or say a 10,000 win 1,000 to start race 2 hours away to drive 4 hours away and run for a 5,400 to win, 400 to start race.
That's hard to do, ain't it?
Yeah, you got to kind of start getting a little more smarter about where's the pay going to be, how's it going to be, and I'm going to redo this car from the ground up. We're taking it back to Mars at the end of the year. We're going to get the front clip updated to the race clip because this is an old K. Dillard car. Get it the same as that one. We did that one last year, so we'll reskin this, we'll reskin that, freshen up the motors, and then I'm going to decal them both the same way, mainly for Austin. I'll drive some next year, but probably even less than this year because my main focus is kind of getting him going and up to speed. So they'll both, if I raced 12 or 14 times this year, I may race 6 or 7 next year. You know what I mean?
Right.
Kind of when needed to kind of help him get a little bit of seat time. But
so we're middle of October, and I see 2 race cars here that look like they're both in pretty good shape.
Yep.
Neither one has to be reclipped. You technically could run it. It's not bent, but you want to update it.
Yeah.
So I get that. Yeah. So a full season, both cars, I mean, that one got reskinned a while back, didn't it? Maybe
beginning of the year.
Beginning of the year. Did you put new sheet metal on it, like around north-south time or anything like that?
New sides. Yeah.
New sides, freshened it up.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and a new nose, actually.
A full season on 2 cars. They both still look pretty good.
Yeah, that ain't too bad. We'll take that.
We'll take that season.
Yeah, we'll take that. We got to get up there in the mix a little bit. There was a couple of nights where we just didn't run very good, but again, Brownstown's one of them. But again, it's like you run this against most of the guys that's doing it for a living. It's like, I don't know if we should be up there in the mix anyway because we're not there. You know what I mean? Our program's not there.
Right. But it's nice for you guys to get that chance every now and then to get with those guys and just learn from them. I mean, I don't know how much you learn from them, but, man, you're out there with them, you know.
I tell Austin that every once in a while because sometimes it's like, man, they're good and this and that. They're like, yeah. I said, but every once in a while you got to kind of jump in there and kind of see where you're at. You know what I mean? And sometimes racing against guys that are much faster and you start going in harder and you start trying to keep up and it makes you faster.
It makes you faster.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a give and take. You can't race that way every single weekend. You don't want to be the guy that's dragging the ass and in the way and stuff like that against the best in the country if you're not there. But you want to race regionally and get as competitive as you can and test the waters every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, but
never know. In a few years, he could be in that and getting closer to that level.
Yeah, that takes a lot. That takes a lot
It does take a lot.
Somebody would have to come by with a big fat checkbook for that, because it's just it's just gotten out of hand money wise to do that level.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of them are kind of second guessing what they're doing and how much is it worth being on the road all the time and spending that kind of money and doing all that work, because it's for the level they do it. It's hard work.
It is hard work.
Think, oh yeah, I'd love to be on a race team and I'd love to work on a car and I'd love to travel and it's glorious and they get out and it's on flow every night and it's just that looks like so much fun. Yeah, but behind the scenes,
it's a lot of work
and they're all wore out all the time. I mean, it's work.
Yeah. I think I've heard rumors there is a local regional kid stepping up to go for a rookie title next year in one of the series, the Chamberlain, Tristan.
I've heard that. I've heard that. He's been impressive to go up there to the World 100 and make his first try at the World 100. Yeah, they got in because the other guys, there was confusion on the thing, but hey, you got in. You know,
he got in.
You made it in.
First time ever there, the kid made it in.
In the laps he was making. He was racing good laps. He was qualifying good laps. His hot laps were good laps. I mean, it wasn't like he lucked his way in by any means.
Right.
He's a good talent. And I remember a couple of years ago he was racing crates and he was 13 or something like that. And immediately in him the first year, I told him, I don't know if it was his dad or mom or both of them I was talking to, I was like, man, he's got really good car control for just jumping in the,
sure.
I mean, yeah, he raced go-karts and stuff like that, but you're putting him in a full-body car, and I mean, my goodness, he's sitting up on the steering wheel because he's so little, you know what I mean? It's like, so they moved him right up, and he's really ran with it, and I heard he's got some pretty good, a good guy that sponsored it or stepped up. And
that's what I've heard. I don't know the name, but I've heard he's really stepped up and put their program, all right, this is what we need, and so here they go. Yeah,
so I wish him all the luck. He's done a good job around here regionally. I mean, so I hate it that maybe we'll lose another regional guy that bounces around locally because we can't afford to lose too many.
Right.
Because we need the shows, we need the races. Yeah, I mean,
but like you said, those top series, they got to have feeders from somewhere.
Yep.
So you lose a regional guy.
Yep.
Where are you going to get the next regional guy from?
Right. So that's my hope. I hope they get a good regional series or two lined up that's here within 3 or 4 hours of the shop. And like I said, the best purse for the racers in the regional ones is the $5,000 to win, $1,000 to start with a decent payback. You're going to, if you look at Moeller's done it 2 years. Last year they did $6,000, $1,000 to start, and they actually paid heat races. Place was sold out, standing room only. The concession lines were back to the stands all night. Had 47 late models on a Friday night.
And not too many places are doing that payout or something for the heat races like that. I mean, what was it?
Nick Hoffman came.
$1,000 to win for a heat race?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Nick Hoffman came, and I think he told Pickleheimer, he said, well, if I made the race and I won a heat race, he's like, I'm guaranteed $2,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because I paid $1,000 for the heat race, I got the check right over there.
You got a check over there too, don't you?
I won the heat, and I think I ran like 5th or 6th in the feature. So, but and then Brush Creek's done it 2 years too, but I think they pay like $10,000 to win, $1,000 to start. But Pickleheimer has really got it figured out for that one show a year, that $5,000, $1,000 to win. And I'm surprised it hasn't caught the attention of more local promoters. Like, if you pay more back, you're going to get more guys. I mean, a lot of guys look at that. I mean, a lot of guys know that their chance of winning is probably not great. I mean, if there's 30 cars there and you got a guy from Lake Cumberland coming up and he thinks, well, I don't think I can beat Josh Rice, and I don't think I can beat this guy. So immediately, if I'm not in the top 2, I'm in the red. I mean, losing profusely. I mean, most guys that do it, they know you're going to lose money. Every time you unload, a lot of them's going to lose money, but that's part of the chance.
It's part of the sport too. I mean, a lot of guys got to know going into it, hey, I'm not here to make money. I'm kind of already spending it.
I mean, you try to throw away all your initial investment and your rebuilds and your everything, but when you get to the track, you try to at least cover, you're paying your crew in there, you got your fuel, you got your tire use. I mean, you don't want your week-to-week expense to be just really heavy. You know what I mean?
You got to kind of control it and limit it somehow.
Right, exactly.
I'm surprised maybe, like you said, that Pickle there at Moeller doesn't try to do more of those shows.
Right.
You know, maybe do them once or twice more a year,
Yeah, I talked to Larry up there. It was late in the year, and he was saying he's working on some sponsorship stuff for next year for the track, which they worked their butt off up there.
Good.
And he's saying he's hoping to, nothing guaranteed, but he's hoping to be able to run late models, minimum of 15 shows next year for an elevated purse. Like, I'm thinking, he said maybe $3,000, $2,000, $3,000 to win every night.
Yeah.
If he can get this set in stone. Now, that all hinges on him getting some funding from some sponsorship stuff. But he told me, he said, every time I run late models, I put fans in the stands. He's like, when I'm not running late models, the fan count's pretty weak. Yeah, I mean, so, and most tracks are that way. I mean, most tracks would love to have late models. I'll tell you who's doing a real good job is that Mudlick over there. I mean, I don't even know those people. We raced over there once with Austin, but I mean, this past year, they bought the track. They put brand new LED lights in. They've shortened the track. I mean, you can run about 10 wide on there. They put guardrail up and wall all the way around it. They got concessions and bathrooms in. I mean, they are pouring a lot. I think I saw on the internet the other day, they said they spent about $200,000 in upgrades this year. Now, everything is great with the exception of, in my opinion, from when we were there, they need to get some good clay on the track because it was kind of powdery and wheel spinny, and all night long everybody worked to the bottom, and it was just everybody on the bottom. And if you moved out, you were in the dust. So if they can get their surface good, a good clay surface where you can race 2 or 3 wide, they're really going to have something.
They're going to have
something. People are really putting the work in. I'd like to see, and a lot of times they're running late models, 3,500, $5,000. They ran that 10 grand at the end of the year there, and I heard it was real successful. I know 191 down in Kentucky, they just opened their track back up, and I saw where they're doing a lot of work. Hopefully they can get their program going. But a lot of tracks, if they can run a successful late model show, will make very good money. But some tracks just get by without running late models and want to run a bunch of support classes and pay the bottom 2 classes. You guys win a trophy, and the next 2 you guys get $100, and this one, and they make small profits, but they're making enough profit to get by. But to me, the promoters, I'd like to see them make good money because it's a big investment. It's a lot of work that people don't see. I mean, they're keeping their equipment going and the fuel and stuff in it and the insurance.
Running a racetrack ain't cheap either.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you show up there on Saturday afternoon, sprinkle down some water and say, let's go racing. I mean, you got to cut the grass, you got to keep the equipment going, you got to work the track if you want it to be a good facility. You're painting walls, you're fixing lights. I mean,
staff.
Putting gravel down on the entrance. You got your staff, you got your PA system, your speakers. I mean, there's a big investment there and a lot of work, a lot of hours. And when those hours of doing all the work overcome what the reward is of what you're bringing back in, that's the same thing as a race car. Eventually, if you keep losing tons and tons of money, eventually the fun.
You're going to get tired of losing money eventually.
Exactly. It becomes unfun. You know what I mean? So people don't like spending money on stuff that's not very fun.
No. I don't know too many people like enjoy spending money on something that's not fun.
Right. It gets tiring real quick.
Real quick, It's different if you're having fun, but when you're not having fun, whoa.
Right.
let's go back to the drawing board here.
So, like I said, the promoters are in the same boat as the drivers. I mean, you want them to all make money. And again, it's all that who's going to help make the money, who's going to pay more on the purse, can the promoter pay more? Because he's not getting the fans. Why is he not getting the fans? It's what's in it for him. Yeah, I mean, there's scenarios all the way around. There is, and there's lots of people with a lot of ideas. The thing is, I think a lot of the racing, especially for us, has to be solved more at a regional level for that feeder system for the big ones. The people that's in the big ones, Lucas in the world of Outlaws, they're not going to step down and take care of the regional stuff. They got their hands full with what they're doing. So they don't, and that's where they make all their money. But 5 to 7 years down the road, if there's no feeders and you got people getting out of them, where are we going to be? I told Josh King that one time, I said, you know what? I was like, people don't want to run late models that much. I said, but as more and more regional guys sell out, I said, and Lucas gets down to a dozen traveling guys and World of Outlaws down to a dozen traveling guys, where are you going to get the cars to fill them shows? I mean, Josh's biggest shows are the Ralph Latham and the North South. He makes all his money on them. I mean, he does really well, and he's worked hard for 30 years plus to get there, which is great. But 5 to 7 years down the road here, if all these guys that own stuff don't have a place to race and don't have enough places to make any money, or just being, your regional guys can't come and race with the series guys. Now you've only got your series guys. Where's that going to go? Of course, he was like, well, at that point, if there's not enough cars, they'll probably just combine the 2 series and make one. I'm like, okay, see, now you got 24, 25 cars. The last guy every night, the last 5 guys are getting 1,000 to start every night, but they're spending 300, 400,000 a year. How long is that going to last? Then that ticks down. It's like, when the late models are gone, is the Ralph Latham and the North South going to become a crate race And is it going to become a super modified race? I mean,
right.
Are you really going to fill the stands? Where's your market going to be 5 to 7 years down the road? So you got to have enough foresight to be like, okay, I need to run late models at least once a month. You know what I mean? I got to give these guys a place to race.
We got to keep some regional guys.
A lot of guys that are regional, they don't want to run 2 and 3 times a week every single week. I mean, if you're running once a month and Brownstown's once a month and Moeller's running some Friday night stuff and Tomic and Portsmouth and Lake Cumberland, there's enough going on just to keep us going as long as they don't get scheduled on top of each other. They got to work together a little bit too.
Yep.
But you got to have enough foresight to look and say, the Evanses, the Hensleys, and the Lays, and the
Landrums.
I mean, the James Rice. I mean, Josh Rice don't race nationally; he races locally. I mean, the Landrums. What's going to keep these guys kind of going, and what's going to keep them invested into the things that do support my big shows, where I make my money. I mean, again, it's not going to be for Lucas to solve that problem, and it's not going to be for World of Outlaws. It's going to be for each track promoter being like, I run late models a couple times a year for big shows, and I need those guys there for that, so I need to run them periodically throughout the year and give them something to race for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely feel like there could be more regional shows. And I think the tracks can make money on regional shows as well. And not just some of these tracks we've mentioned, some of those tracks don't even have a Lucas Oil or a World of Outlaws race. Some of them, their biggest race of the year is a regional show.
Right.
So I feel like maybe some more of those would be beneficial to your local levels.
Right, I totally agree. I think that's what we need. And it's got to be built from the middle up. It can't. The local shows can't survive anymore with trying to pay these. So we know that that's out. So but that middle, that regional guy, that's where I think it needs help to be sustainable for the Lucas and the World of Outlaws. Yeah, I mean, because it's the same way with the World and Dream and all them. I mean, if everything regional continues to die off and everybody starts selling them, how long is it going to be before you have 30, 40 cars show up?
Remember the days when you go to the World and there was like a couple hundred cars?
I remember going there one year. There was 261 cars trying to make a 24-car starting field.
Yeah. Those days are long gone. Long gone. I don't know if there's 220 cars in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, maybe not. It's hard to say.
So
I'm hoping that, the Summer Nationals was good this year. I know Sam Driggers, he's working to try to put some stuff together.
Right.
I think Chris Tilley's been working, trying to put some stuff together. I'd like to see some regional stuff come back. I think they're kind of really focusing on wanting to get some regional stuff really going good.
Yeah.
But again, it's got to be a good, decent payoff. Like I've told promoters and series promoters, so I was like, you can't pay $5,000, $10,000 to win, $500 to start, and you got a $100 entry fee, and you're paying $240 for everybody to get in the pits, and you're burning up $130 of fuel and $200 of fuel in the hauler and 2 tires a night at $400 something.
It just doesn't make sense.
It's not enough there. And some of the races we've been to, from 10th on back, pay start money.
Right.
It's like, what are those guys? I mean, your guys that's 11th, 12th, 14th, if they're not catching the guy in front of them, you're going to might as well just pull off and save your equipment. You know what I mean? You got to step it back a little bit. And again, the start money's got to be good, and the payoff all the way back. If you want to get back to about 18th or 19th and pay the rest of the 5 or 6 spots start money, I get that. You know what I mean? But again, it's just got to be, it's got to make sense to some degree. I mean, none of it makes sense, but it's got to make a little bit of sense.
A little bit more sense. More sense for everybody.
More sense than no sense. You know what I mean?
So off the racing topic, we'll get ready to wrap up here shortly. Off the racing topic, you run a business, coach basketball, race team, and pretty much it's one thing after another. And I've wondered this one, it's like, how the heck do you do that? I mean, it's like there's no pulling the throttle back. It's all in all the time.
It keeps you busy. I mean, I love racing. You know, it's a lot of work, but I love racing, and it's kept my family close together. And I have fun with Austin. And my dad still goes, and he's getting older. And I mean, we still bang around in the truck and kind of have some fun with that. And then basketball, I've coached basketball for probably ever since my oldest daughter Tori started, and she's 30. So whenever she started, it was about 6 or 7 years old. I went and watched a practice at this rec center, and the coach would show up late with a sub sandwich and start late, and then he'd put them in layup lines for 25 minutes, and then we would go home. And I'm like, it's driving me crazy. I played basketball. I played through high school. I played in college, and like, just if I'm going to be here, I might as well get involved in coach. And then that led to me coaching her all the way through. And Austin, then he got in basketball and coached him all the
And
way
coaching
through.
others.
Yeah, and AAU, and then and my daughter Tori or Kylie, I coached her all the way through. She graduated 2 years ago, and she went on to play over at Mount St. Joe for a year. And then once she was done, now I'm still coaching high school for other kids. Just because I enjoy the teaching aspect and the watching kids develop and get better throughout the year, and the competitiveness of the games and the districts and the regionals.
You enjoy and love basketball too.
I do, I do. But with that being said, I mean, me and my wife, we take a couple trips a year too. We got a camper probably a year and a half ago, and we've taken some trips. She's taken more than me, and we're looking to take some more of those trips in the camper.
I do. I love following the photos, the photo dumps. I mean, she puts them out there, and it's great stuff. It's like, I get to see some of the stuff that I wouldn't have seen.
Our last trip, we went about 13 or 14 days, and we went up through, we went to American Pickers down on the river, then we went on up through South Dakota, we went to the Badlands, we went to Mount Rushmore, and we worked our way on across to Yellowstone. We was in Yellowstone for a few days, checking out the park. We went down through Jackson Hole, was down there for a day or two, did the river rafting and all that stuff, and then we worked our way on back. So it was a lot of traveling, probably about 33 or 3,800 miles in about 14 days. We stayed at a couple of speedways. We stayed at Boone Speedway one night. We stayed at I-70 Speedway one night.
Yeah.
She works for a couple months at a time putting together trips and
an
what
itinerary.
all we want to see. And she wants to do more of that. I want to do more of that too, because we enjoy our conversations and hanging out. And what we're grilling up in the nighttime, and where we're going to end up from starting here to there, and just she has it all planned out pretty good.
Do you guys? I gotta ask this. Do you guys have any kind of fun road game? It seems everybody wants to have a nice fun road game to play along the way. Do you guys have a fun road game, or just good conversation?
Nah, just good conversation. We talk about anything and everything. I think just one of the things that sticks out into my mind, we got on last time, we were like, name the most recognizable voices on the radio. Like when a song comes on, you immediately know that it's that person. You know what I mean? So,
I get this all the time. Who sings this? Who sings this?
Yeah, exactly. We are always like, so we were just trying to name the top 5 that we could think of the people that just came on. And then there was another time we were like, okay, name singers that just go by one name. You know, how many can you name? Like Madonna, Cher. You know what I mean? People like that. Garth. Just on and on. So you just get thinking about stuff like that. Talking about crazy stuff. But yeah, we have a good time. We just talk about everything. She's obviously my best friend, and we talk about everything, and we love to spend time together. And she's been there through me with racing and everything. We're just getting ready to have our 25th anniversary from being married here November the 7th. So we're getting ready to go on another little quick trip down to Gatlinburg. That's where we got married, was Tennessee. So we're going down there here in a few days. But we like to do things together.
Good deal.
Yeah. She'll still go on a trip by herself or with a couple other girlfriends. They'll get. She just went about a week ago up to Mansfield, Ohio, and did the walk of the penitentiary up there. That's supposed to be haunted. Did Germantown and all that. So
did they see any ghosts?
No, the one section there that's supposed to have paranormal activity was closed down because it's set up for Halloween.
Halloween attractions.
It's a haunted house. So they're using that part of it for that. But she wants to go back. Her and the head coach of the Walton Verona basketball team and AD, they all went up and hung out there for a day, stayed the night, and come back the next day. So,
interesting. I hear there's a place, if you want to see aliens, I know paranormal aliens. I hear there's a place in Tennessee to go to for that.
I heard there might be an alien sighting this weekend.
The aliens could be laying in Eldor this weekend.
The saucer, or is it going to be the cigar?
We'll just have to wait and see. See how that goes.
It's good to see Scott back out there. I hope he does good. I mean, he's a legend, and he's basically had a tough 4 or 5 years here. I mean,
he has.
Me and Austin, we talked about. I mean, obviously, in my opinion, he's the GOAT. He always will be. I mean, he was dominant for more years than I can ever see anybody else being dominant. You know what I mean?
Me and Austin was talking about that too. It's like, I don't think that we're going to see. I mean, you see guys that have good years and run good consistently for however many years, but I just don't see anybody out there that's going to be that dominant for that long. Guys may have, Davenport. Davenport's had a good 4 or 5 years. Now you've got somebody else taking over. Davenport's not as strong as he looked a few years ago. So having those long stability or maintainable careers, it was dominant for that long, it's like this long now. You're going to be good for this long. You're going to be good for that long, you know.
And will those guys, will Davenport even stay in it as long as Bloomquist did? I mean, he had a year this year that was good, but not great, not a dominant year like he has had. I mean, when you start talking money one, I mean, he's up there, he's on Mount Rushmore for money one. You know what I mean? And these other guys, some of these other guys, Brandon Overton, he had a couple good years where he won a bunch of money, but he's kind of ticked down this year. You know what I mean? But because a lot of times when Scott and them were winning back then, a big show was 10,000 to win. You know what I mean? 15,000 to win.
You get that around the corner now.
Yeah,
that's regional stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Scott, he's had a long career. He's had a lot of success. And hopefully, he can come back and get a few more years and be competitive. But it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
So him coming back. I mean, this is a whole other topic right here. Scott coming back. Scott getting back in a race car. I haven't heard if he's been testing or has he gotten back in the wheel or is he just getting back in at Eldora. And, you know, so there's that question. Hey, how good's he going to do? Is he going to make the show? Or is he just going to flat out
sell T-shirts?
Sell T-shirts. You know, and Austin said, well, the fan of me says, I would love to see him just go up there and just kick butt and be like, yep, see, told you so. But, you know.
I think it'll be very hard because these other guys are so good and they've been racing every weekend. And I mean, and let's be honest, the Longhorn team, I mean, they're winning everything. The Longhorn cars are kicking everybody's butt.
Yes.
I mean, right now, if people's got money, a lot of money, and they're getting into racing, you go buy Longhorn. I mean, it's just look at Chamberlain. We talked about him. He's 16 years old, never driven one. Jumped from that Bloomquist to that Longhorn, went right up there and was competitive all weekend and made the World 100. And he's been very good in it. Speed, instant speed. I mean, I think Rocket they're probably the second best car by numbers wise. Yeah, I mean, we love our MBs, but it's not many of them out. I'm just talking about on the national scene and stuff like that. But Rocket's really, to be honest with you, they've struggled this year. Yeah, I mean, they've really
struggled. Than the world.
Other than the world.
Other than the world.
They've struggled. Me and Austin, we've talked about it a couple of times. At one time, I think Bloomquist was hanging around them, and they were talking about maybe doing some stuff together. But we had talked about that jig that Sweet had that was down at Bruce's that just got picked up a couple months ago back over at Scott's, I think. But we were like, if Rocket wanted to get back in the game quick, if they could work with Scott, if Scott's able to work, because Scott's hard to control, you know what I mean? They should get that jig, and, and Rocket should build the XR0.
Yeah, there it is. I said it. I said that at the World, and I'm like, I want naming rights. The XR0 right there.
If those two would team up with Mark's experience and Scott's knowledge and Scott's experience, I mean, Scott would probably love to just go and test, because he used to always just love to go test. I mean, he is a genius at finding speed, and you combine them two together, and I think it would be trouble for Longhorn. You know what I mean? But
so you say trouble. I mean, not that I'm throwing anybody's name with trouble, but we know Cody Mallory has brought speed to several teams.
Right.
I know he's helping the Garrett Smith boy now. I heard again, this may be rumored, I heard that the Smith car got lettered. Did it get lettered at Bloomquist's shop this week?
I don't know if it got lettered at Bloomquist's shop or if Bloomquist got lettered at wherever Cody's is with theirs. Down there in Tennessee, they both got lettered same spot, but I don't know if they were at Cody's.
So we know Cody Mallory has helped Scott. He's helped Garrett a couple years ago at the dirt track.
Right.
Scott was helping the Garrett kid too. I mean, could Scott be parked next to the Smith, and maybe Mallory could be back and forth on cars a little bit here? I mean,
I could easily see that.
Yeah.
Scott and Cody had a lot of success together. You know what I mean? I think they're two people that's very alike. You know what I mean? I don't know him very well, but I know wherever he goes, he takes speed with him. You know what I mean? Whoever he's helped automatically gets faster.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like, so that's why I think Rocket hired him coming out of Florida. And immediately when Garrett got rid of him in Florida and Cody went there, automatically the one car was a lot faster. And it was that way for a while until maybe midsummer. When the tracks got slicker, it seemed like whatever they had going just wasn't working very good. And Huddy is married to the cushion all the time. I mean, that World 100, he won on the cushion. Most of the races he's won's been wheel spin, wide open on the cushion, and been there all night. You know what I mean? I don't know that the cars can run through the black and the bottom very good right now. I think there's nights where Huddy takes a 12th to 15th place car and makes it a top 5 car.
Sure.
I mean, I think he's that good of a driver.
He's a wheel man.
Yeah, so I think if Mark and them can get a car better for him, that could be trouble too. I mean,
the rocket car could be back.
Yeah, from what I see, and that's just me. I mean, I watch a lot of racing, and I see Huddy's married to the cushion most of the time. I mean, he comes off of it, he's just not as fast.
Yep.
And there's other people like that too. But
sure.
He's more in my mind because you see him more. He's up front all the time, and he's competing, and he's on the flow. When we're not racing, we get to see him, or we go back and watch the next day on Dirt. You get to see his car.
You get to see
TV.
it. Yep, for
it's
sure.
a nice looking car.
Yep, looks good.
So it's been a good fit for Mark and them. I mean, it's been a good transition. And Brandon, who used to be in the house car, has transitioned pretty good over to his own one car. I mean, he got better as the year went on. Kind of got it suiting him, and now he's going to be the Longhorn driver next year. So.
Man, I'm not saying there was luck there. The guy's talented. Yeah. But to go from one house car to another house car, guy's doing something right.
Yeah. Austin and I were talking the other day. We're like, I think sometimes people overlook how good, or don't maybe give him quite the credit that he's done the things. I mean, everybody's like, Pierce is doing this, and Rickie's doing this and doing that. I mean, Brandon's got like 4 World of Outlaw championships. He's won that one year. He won 16, 18, 20 features, maybe 22. I don't know. For the World of Outlaws, him and Mark was a very good team. And I mean, he's won, I don't know if he's won a World or a Dream. He's won a lot of crown jewels.
Yes.
And I think he's only about 28 years old.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's not an old guy.
You think he's been around a long time, but it's like he's still pretty young.
He's still a young man.
Yeah. So I think that'll be good. I think him teaming up with Longhorn in the house car is going to be good. And there's a lot of other rumors out there circling around about who's going to go to what cars and this and that.
Yeah, the silly season just getting started.
Yeah.
It's just getting started.
Yeah. So I don't like saying a bunch of them that I've heard because
there
may not be no truth to them, and I don't spread rumors that
Correct.
I don't know. And in racing, you don't believe anything you hear and only about half of what you see. You know what I mean?
That ain't no lie. That's right. Okay. So. Well, Jess, man, I think we've chewed over a lot here, and we've raced around the garage here about this and that. So, man, I think it's been a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I like it. I like to get together and talk racing about any time.
Man, I can just sit around and talk racing for an hour.
We'll have to get us another one going where we can get a bunch of other people involved.
Yeah. Man, I've talked about it. There's just a few logistics that I haven't gotten figured out on my end. But I would love to put a few roundtable discussions together and a couple of the older guys and just throw them to the wolves and say, "Have at it, boys." Oh yeah, don't pay any attention to that light and camera over there. Just let's start talking about it.
Right, exactly.
If I can get a few things figured out, I think that'd be a few interesting episodes there for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Cool. Okay. All right, well, Jess, we're going to wrap things up. It's getting late in the day. You've worked, had basketball, and now we've talked about racing for a while. It's dinner time.
It is dinner time. My wife's got stuff in the crock pot, so it's time to go.
Yeah. What we having tonight?
It looked like a roast and some potatoes and some veggies and stuff in there. So
sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, folks, we're going to wrap things up. Hope you guys enjoyed this session. Man, you going to Eldora this weekend?
I think I'm going to go up Thursday and help Billy Green. He's dating my daughter Kylie, so we're going to go up there and kind of hang out and help him if he needs any help. And then if he makes the feature Friday, we may shoot back up there. We got basketball practice after work Friday from 3 to 5, and then we may be peeling out to go back up there. If
back
he
and forth.
The feature, then we'll see how Saturday shakes out. I don't really want to drive 3 days in a row. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes each way, and the weather's going to be a little on the chilly side, but
it's going to be questionable a couple of days, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what the weather. I think some chance of rain on Friday, so we'll just play the weather and see how it feels.
There you go.
If worst case scenario, you can always watch it on TV.
You can always watch it on TV, but there's nothing like being at the track. So
there's not.
All right, folks. Again, I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hey, if you're at Eldora this weekend, you see me or Jesse, throw up a hand, say hey or whatever, and always we'll see you at the track next week. Thanks.